At a lavish rooftop party, I let a handsome stranger whisper sweet lies into my ear, knowing that someone was watching from across the room. He touched my hand, leaned in, and smiled. You want him to see, don't you? I exhaled slowly. I want him to feel what I felt. The next morning, my suitcase was already packed. I didn't need to say goodbye because he already knew it was over. I stood at the edge of the rooftop, the cold metal railing pressing into my palms, the city stretching out in a sea of lights beneath me. Laughter and the clinking of glasses echoed behind me, but all I could focus on was the weight in my chest. It had been there for months, pressing down, suffocating, making everything feel just a little heavier than it should. Then I felt him. A presence. Warmth at my side. You want him to see, don't you? The voice was smooth, deep, a little amused. I exhaled slowly, my nails digging into my palms. I want him to feel what I felt. The stranger chuckled, low and knowing. Then let's make sure he does. He reached for my hand, his fingers brushing mine, and I let him. I let him lean in, let him smile like he was whispering the sweetest things into my ear, and I let myself meet his gaze like he was the only man in the world. Because I knew someone was watching. And across the room, I felt it. My husband. His eyes burning into me. 6 months earlier, I was a different person. Happy, or at least I thought I was. My husband, let's call him Adam, was everything to me. We met in college, got married in a small ceremony, and built a life together in Manhattan. People called us a power couple. We looked perfect from the outside. But I should have known. The late meetings. The way he'd take his phone calls outside. The new cologne he never used around me. One night, he came home at 2 in the morning, smelling like whiskey and perfume that wasn't mine. He barely looked at me as he stumbled into bed. I stared at the ceiling, my stomach twisting. My gut knew. I just didn't want to admit it. Then came the text. Adam left his laptop open while he showered. I wasn't looking for anything. I wasn't. But his messages were right there, open like a wound. A name caught my eye, Sophia. I clicked. Sophia, last night was amazing. I can still feel your hands on me. My hands went cold. Adam, you drive me crazy, baby. Can't wait to see you again. I felt like I had been punched in the stomach. 10 years. 10. And this is what I get? I heard the water shut off. My body moved on autopilot. I closed the laptop, sat back down, and stared at the blank TV screen. My hands were shaking. He walked out, towel slung low on his hips, rubbing his hair dry. He smiled at me. What's for dinner? I looked at him, really looked at him, and I saw it. The lies, the ease with which he hid things. The way he moved around me like he had done nothing wrong. And something inside me snapped. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to cry. No. I was going to make him feel it. The way I had felt it. So, I waited. I planned. And then fate handed me the perfect opportunity, a rooftop party. Adam was going. I was going. And Sophia? Oh, she'd be there too. It was perfect. I spent extra time getting ready. Not for him. Not even for me. For the moment. The moment he would see what it felt like to watch his person slip through his fingers. I wore a dress I knew looked good on me, the kind that made people stare. My hair was perfect. My lipstick was red. And when I walked into that party, heads turned. Including his. Good. I ignored him. I walked to the bar, let myself be noticed, and then I saw him, the stranger. Tall. Sharp jawline. Smirking like he already knew my secrets. I didn't need to say anything. He saw my wedding ring. He saw the way my husband was watching me. And he understood. Can I buy you a drink? His voice was amused, curious. I lifted my glass. Already have one. He grinned. Then can I just stand here and admire the view? I let him. We talked. I let him lean in, let his fingers brush my wrist, let my laughter linger just a little longer than necessary. And across the room, I could feel Adam watching. Then the stranger whispered, he's coming this way. Perfect. I turned, just as Adam reached us. His face was a mask of barely contained rage. What the hell are you doing? His voice was low, controlled, dangerous. I tilted my head, sipping my drink. Having a conversation. Why? His jaw clenched. His fists balled. I smiled at the stranger. I think my husband wants to introduce himself. The stranger played along. I'd love to meet the man who let a woman like you slip through his fingers. Adam snapped. Faster than I expected. He grabbed my arm, yanking me away from the bar, from the stranger, from the scene I had so carefully orchestrated. You're making a fool of yourself, he hissed. I laughed. Right in his face. Oh, you mean like you and Sophia? The color drained from his face. Got you. He opened his mouth, then closed it. His eyes darted around, like he was suddenly hyper-aware of the people around us. And that's when I knew I won. I leaned in, just enough for only him to hear. Did you think I wouldn't find out? He said nothing. Did you think I'd sit at home, waiting for you to come back to me? Silence. You don't get to be mad. Not after what you did. He swallowed. We can talk about this. I smiled. No, we really can't. I pulled my arm free and walked away. I didn't look back. Let him stand there. Let him feel it. The way I had felt it. I didn't go home that night. I already knew it was over. But I wanted him to sit in that silence. To wonder if I'd come back. To wonder how it felt to be the one left behind. Because I already knew. And it was his turn now. I woke up in a hotel room. White sheets. Soft pillows. A city skyline stretching beyond the window. It wasn't mine, but it was peaceful. Quiet. I rolled onto my side, checking my phone. 14 missed calls. All from Adam. I stared at the screen for a long time before tossing it onto the nightstand. I already knew what the voicemail said. We need to talk. I messed up. Please come home. Too late. I got out of bed, stretched, and walked to the window. The city moved below me, cars honking, people rushing, the world still spinning like my entire life hadn't just shifted overnight. I should have felt broken. I should have felt lost. I didn't. I showered, got dressed, and ordered coffee to my room. If Adam thought I was sitting somewhere crying, waiting for him to make up his mind about me, he was an idiot. But when my phone buzzed again, I wasn't expecting the name on the screen. Sophia. My heart slammed against my ribs. Why the hell was she calling me? I stared at it, debating whether to answer. Then, curiosity won. I swiped. What do you want? There was a long pause. Then, her voice shaky, nervous. You need to leave him. I froze. Excuse me? You need to leave him. You don't understand what he's capable of. I sat down, gripping the edge of the bed. What the hell are you talking about? Sophia exhaled hard. He lied to you. He lied to me. I thought I was the only one, but there were others. More than just me. More than just us. Something cold ran down my spine. You're lying. Check his accounts. His credit card statements. Hell, check his email if you still can. She sounded scared. Not guilty. Scared. I swallowed. Why are you telling me this? She hesitated. Then, she whispered, because I found out something I wasn't supposed to. Goosebumps rose on my skin. Sophia, what did you find? Silence. Then, I can't say over the phone. Meet me. Everything in me screamed not to do it. Not to trust her. But something about her voice, the way it shook. I glanced at the hotel room door. Where? The cafe was small, tucked into a quiet corner of the city. I got there early, watching people walk past from my spot by the window. I wasn't sure if I was nervous. Maybe I should have been. But I wasn't. I just needed to know. Then the door opened, and there she was. Sophia. She wasn't what I expected. No high heels. No perfect makeup. Just a woman who looked tired. She spotted me, walked over, and sat down. We stared at each other for a moment. Then she pulled out her phone, scrolled, and slid it across the table. Look. I hesitated. Then I looked. Screenshots. Dozens of them. Messages. Emails. Bank transactions. Names. More women. Some names I recognized, casual acquaintances, co-workers of his. Others I didn't. Then my breath caught. One of the messages wasn't to a woman. It was to someone named Mason. And it wasn't a love note. It wasn't flirtatious. It was a threat. Adam, if she finds out, you know what needs to happen. I blinked. My fingers curled around the phone. What is this? Sophia swallowed hard. That's what I found out. You think, my voice cut off. I shook my head. No, Adam's a liar. A cheater. But not. I couldn't even say it. I didn't think so either, she said softly. But I started digging. The messages to Mason. The money transfers. The people who just disappeared from his life. I shoved the phone back toward her. This is insane. I thought you'd say that. She pulled out something else, a folded piece of paper. I took it. Opened it. It was a flight itinerary. One way. For me. Dated 3 months ago. I felt like the air had been knocked out of my lungs. Adam had planned for me to leave long before I ever found out. Before I ever confronted him. Before I ever knew. I set the paper down slowly. My hands were shaking. What the hell is going on? I whispered. Sophia leaned in. I don't know. But whatever it is, you need to get out before it's too late. I swallowed, my mouth dry. Then my phone buzzed. I looked down. Adam, I know where you are. We need to talk. Now. I slowly lifted my head. Sophia's eyes widened as she read over my shoulder. And then, the cafe door opened. Adam walked in. Adam walked into the cafe like he owned the place. Like he owned me. His eyes scanned the room until they landed on me and Sophia. His expression didn't change, but I saw it, the tightness in his jaw, the tension in his shoulders. He wasn't just mad. He was calculating. I gripped the table, my heart slamming against my ribs. Sophia stiffened beside me. She hadn't turned around yet, but I knew she felt him. Then he moved. Slow, purposeful. He slid into the empty chair across from us, his gaze locked onto mine. His wedding ring glinted under the cafe's warm lights. I felt sick looking at it. You weren't home, he said. His voice was calm, but I heard the edge beneath it. I stared back, refusing to speak first. His eyes flicked to Sophia, his expression unreadable. And here I thought you'd be too ashamed to show your face. She didn't flinch. Trust me, I feel a lot of things. Ashamed isn't one of them. Adam chuckled, shaking his head. You always were a little dramatic. I clenched my fists under the table. Dramatic? After everything he'd done, that's what he had to say? Sophia wasn't fazed. You should go, Adam. He ignored her. His focus was back on me. Let's not do this here, sweetheart. The word made my stomach turn. I forced my voice to stay even. Do what? His eyes darkened. Make a scene. Sophia scoffed. Oh, you mean like the scene you made last night? Adam's jaw clenched, but he kept his smile. I don't know what she told you, he said to me, but you and I both know she's not exactly the most stable person. My stomach twisted. This was his game. Gaslighting. Manipulating. Twisting the truth until I doubted myself. I knew what I saw. I knew what she showed me. The threats. The bank transactions. The plane ticket. But now, sitting here, with him looking at me like I was the one being irrational, I felt something old creeping back in. The doubt. The hesitation. The years of believing his lies. His hand reached across the table, resting over mine. I jolted, pulling back like his touch burned me. That's when I saw it. A flicker of something in his eyes. Not anger. Not frustration. Amusement. Like he enjoyed this. And suddenly, I knew. He wasn't here to apologize. He wasn't here to beg for me back. He was here to control the narrative. I swallowed hard. You knew. Adam tilted his head. Knew what? You knew I'd find out about Sophia. My voice was barely above a whisper. That's why you had the plane ticket ready. His smile didn't falter. I have no idea what you're talking about. Liar. Sophia grabbed her purse. I'm not doing this. She started to stand, but Adam's voice stopped her. You shouldn't have called her. She froze. My pulse skyrocketed. Adam leaned back in his chair, stretching his arms like he had all the time in the world. You always overstep, Sophia. His tone was light, almost amused. It's a bad habit. Something in the air shifted. The tension changed. It wasn't just anger anymore. It was something heavier. A feeling I couldn't quite place. A cold sweat broke out on my skin, because suddenly I realized Sophia was scared. Not irritated. Not guilty. Scared. I turned to her, my breath catching. What does he mean? Her hands trembled as she fumbled with her bag. I have to go. Adam's smile widened. Smart choice. I shot up, knocking over my chair. No, you don't get to just threaten people, and he stood too. Close. Too close. Threaten. He laughed under his breath. Sweetheart, I don't have to threaten anyone. I backed up. Every instinct in me screamed to run. But he didn't move. He just stood there, smiling, like he knew something I didn't. Then, my phone vibrated in my pocket. I fumbled for it, my fingers barely working. My stomach dropped when I saw the screen. Unknown number. Are you sure you want to go down this road? I looked up at Adam. His phone was in his hand. He winked. And in that moment, I understood. This wasn't just about cheating. It wasn't just about lies. It was something bigger. Something dangerous. And I had no idea what the hell I had just walked into. My blood turned ice cold. I gripped my phone so tight my fingers ached. Adam was still standing there, casual as ever, his smirk small but deliberate. He had sent that message. He was warning me. Or worse, he was daring me. Sophia's chair scraped against the floor as she stood abruptly. Her breathing was uneven, her face pale. I told you, she whispered. You don't know what he's capable of. Adam exhaled dramatically. Come on, ladies. Enough of this paranoia. I'm just a man trying to talk to his wife. He turned his gaze to me. Let's go home. I stared at him. Home. The word felt foreign now. That wasn't my home anymore. Not really. I thought I knew what I was dealing with, a cheating, manipulative bastard who thought he could lie his way through life. But this was bigger. You planned this, I said, my voice eerily calm. All of it. His smirk twitched. Planned what, sweetheart? The affairs. The plane ticket. The messages to Mason. The threats. My breath was shallow, but my words were clear. You wanted me gone before I ever found out. Why? His expression didn't change, but something flickered behind his eyes. That was it. That was the moment I knew I was right. There was something else. Something worse. Sophia's fingers curled around my wrist. We need to leave. Now. I didn't move. I wasn't done yet. I want to know, I said, stepping closer to him. Why was it so important to get rid of me? What were you afraid I'd find? For the first time, Adam's smile dropped. Just for a second. And then, Mrs. Carter? A new voice. A sharp voice. I turned. Two men in dark suits had entered the cafe. They were walking directly toward me. Every muscle in my body locked up. They stopped just a few feet away. The taller one reached into his jacket and pulled out a badge. FBI. I blinked. The FBI? Behind me, I heard Sophia inhale sharply. Adam, however, didn't seem surprised. Not at all. The agent's voice was clipped, businesslike. We need you to come with us, ma'am. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. My throat had dried up completely. I don't understand, I finally managed. Why? The agent's expression didn't change. We have some questions about your husband. I whipped around, my heartbeat hammering. Adam? He was still smirking. Still composed. Like he expected this. Like he planned this. I turned back to the agent. I don't know anything. We believe you do, he said evenly. And we need you to come with us now. I stumbled back. I need my lawyer. Adam exhaled loudly, shaking his head. Baby, baby, baby. He clicked his tongue. This is why I wanted you to leave. I told you to stop digging. But you just had to play detective, didn't you? I felt like I was going to be sick. What did you do? My voice was barely a whisper. Adam's smirk widened. And then, boom. The cafe windows shook. Car alarms blared. Glass rattled. People gasped. A few blocks away, thick, black smoke rose into the sky. The entire cafe fell silent. My stomach dropped. Oh my God, Sophia whispered. The agent's radio crackled to life. Explosion downtown. Unknown casualties. FBI presence requested immediately. My heart slammed against my ribs. Then I looked at Adam. And he was still smirking. My breath caught. You. He didn't say anything. But his eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, were enough. He leaned in slightly, just enough so only I could hear. You really should have gotten on that plane, sweetheart. Ice shot through my veins. The agent grabbed my arm. Ma'am, we need to go. Now. Adam stepped back, raising his hands in mock surrender. Guess this is goodbye then. The cafe around me blurred. The voices, the movement, the chaos, it all faded into the background. All I could focus on was the reality sinking in. Adam wasn't just a cheater. He wasn't just a liar. He was something worse. And now, I was part of it. The next 12 hours were a blur. FBI headquarters. A cold interrogation room. Papers shoved in front of me. Names I didn't recognize. Transactions I'd never seen before. Millions of dollars being moved in and out of offshore accounts, some linked to my name. I kept shaking my head. I don't know anything. But they didn't believe me. Adam had planned this so perfectly. I was his wife. My name was tied to accounts, properties, businesses I didn't even know existed. And now, with the explosion downtown, they thought I was involved. Your husband isn't who you think he is, the agent across from me said, studying my face. I let out a hollow laugh. No kidding, but I wasn't protecting Adam. Not after what he'd done. Not after he looked me in the eyes and smirked when a building exploded. So I told them everything. The texts. The plane ticket. The moment I realized I was just another pawn in whatever game he was playing. But there was one problem. Adam was gone. Vanished. Like he had never existed at all. 2 months later, I sat in a tiny apartment in a different city, staring at the news. Authorities are still searching for Adam Carter, the man suspected of orchestrating financial crimes and potential ties to terrorist activity. If you have any information, please contact the FBI tip line. I turned off the TV. My hands trembled. He was still out there. Still watching. But he made one mistake. He underestimated me. For the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of Adam anymore. I was ready for him. And the next time we met, I'd be the one smiling.